Whoa, baby, the buyers are back. It is crazy out there, and we're going to talk about exactly why that is in the real estate market. Brian here with Lamacchia Realty, and I've got an article pulled up that talks a little bit more about why buyers are back and back in a big way. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, this is an article that came out today from Housing Wire, and it is from, actually it wasn't today, it was a couple days ago, from Logan Mohtashami. He is the economist with National Association of Realtors, and it says, how have lower mortgage rates already boosted housing demand? It's early, but we know where to look first. Did the recent move lower in mortgage rates turn the housing market positive? With mortgage rates moving almost 75 basis points lower from the highs, does the data show that demand has improved? Let's take a dive into the weekly tracker to see. Yeah, so interest rates went from 8 down to about 7 and call it 7.25. Purchase application data. Last year, when the mortgage rates fell from 7.37% to 5.99, we got 3 good months of positive purchase application data until the first week of February before mortgage rates started to run higher from 6 to 8%. We needed to focus on the data weekly to see if lower mortgage rates can once again spur purchase applications because we are working from such historically low levels that it doesn't take much to move the needle. So far, we have had back-to-back positive prints, and the year-over-year decline is at the lowest level all year long. However, this is due to extremely easy year-over-year comps. Let's see how this looks in the critical time from the second week of January to the first week of May 2024. Remember, the application data looks out 30-90 days before it hits the sales data. And this just talks about the purchase index. So you can see it's very consistent. You know what? I don't want to spend too much time on this. Let's look real quickly at the housing inventory data. As someone who believes that housing inventory will grow with higher rates, I was hopeful that when mortgage rates got above 7.25%, we would have a few weeks this year of 11 to 17,000 growth, which isn't a lot, and I failed 100% of the time so far. So let's talk about this. So what he was saying is, once you get interest rates north of 7.25, we would then see homes sitting on the market longer, because there would be fewer buyers out there, and as a result, you'd have that inventory growth. But we just haven't seen that. Homes are still going on the market and getting sold very, very quickly. I don't know what the average days on market is right now in my market in Boston, but I can tell you, I was out there with some folks this weekend, and it was a mob scene. Like, it looked no different than the spring market has been for the past 3 years. There were people everywhere, pulling in and out of driveways, couldn't get out, people kind of not too super friendly with one another. It was very, very competitive. And I'll just give you one example. So this was a house that we looked at in a town called Acton, which is just outside of Boston. The home was listed for $850,000, and there had been, up to the open house, I want to say there were probably about a dozen private showings, and the home went on the market on Wednesday night. So Thursday and Friday, between those 2 days, there was about a dozen private showings. And on Saturday, I think she said she had maybe 30 parties come through. So tremendous showing. And this is an $850,000 property that is 10, 15 miles outside the city. So I guess it's like kind of a wake-up call for me, because we had seen for the past several months is kind of a softening in the market, because again, interest rates were up to right around 8%, and that seemed to be like, okay, well, people literally just cannot afford to buy a home right now. But as soon as it dropped down to 7.25, boom, it was right there. Everyone came back out of the woodwork, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, people have been burned spring after spring after spring after spring for the past 3, 4, 5 years. And they're realizing, like, if I wait to spring, I'm not necessarily screwed, but it's going to be a big challenge. These are people, a lot of buyers in the marketplace are people who have been looking for a home for years. And what happens consistently is they go out during the spring and they're unsuccessful, and then summer comes around, and then they like go off on vacation, and then the lease renewal is usually around here. It's like September, August time frame, and they're like, well, you know what? I'll just lease for another year and I'll deal with it next spring. So that's been the cycle that they've been on, and people are finally realizing, like, a couple things. Number one, if I wait till the spring, I'm going to lose out. I'm just not going to be competitive. And number two is that rental prices are increasing dramatically because there is such a a lack of inventory, rental inventory here in this market. And it's not just this market, it's across many markets throughout the United States. But in Boston in particular, it is very, very difficult to get a rental right now, at least something that's moderately priced. There's plenty of expensive rentals, but there's very few that are actually, I won't call them affordable, but more affordable than a $3,500 apartment in the city. Now, what is that being born from? I think part of that is just some real macro issues that we have in this country where, over the past couple years, we've had this massive influx of people coming into the country. And it is a real challenge because when you introduce that many more people and you're not increasing the housing stock, then you're going to have situations like what we have today, which is way too many buyers and not enough sellers and not enough housing to go around. So that's what you end up with. You end up with this situation where you're going to have, demand far outweighs supply. And as a result, you're going to have rising prices and everything that goes with it. We would usually be in a seasonal decline by now, but inventory growth has recently picked up due to higher rates. So higher rates did their thing. Just not big enough for my taste. Mortgage rates have fallen, so this is something to consider next year if they keep falling because they traditionally means flat to lower inventory data, assuming that the economy is still expanding, and that's a big assumption there. Last year, according to Alto's research, seasonal peak for housing inventory was October 28th. And let's see here. Weekly inventory changed from November 10th to 17th. Inventory rose from 566 up to 569, so it's essentially flat. Same week last year, inventory fell 572 to 569. Again, same, relatively flat. Inventory bottom for 2022 was 240. Inventory peak for 2023 so far was 569. These are all very low numbers, as you can see on this chart. And you go back to, say, like 2019, and you go back to, November of 2019, there were 900,000 homes available for sale. And look at that, compare that to today, which is 570,000. So what's that? 40% fewer homes, which is crazy. So if you have that type of inventory situation where you've got that many fewer homes in the market available for sale, what's going to happen to home prices? They're going to go up, regardless of what the interest rate is, because there's plenty of qualified buyers for homes. The rest of this is just kind of a bunch of numbers, and we don't need to go through that. But anyways, the point here is that used to be right around now, Thanksgiving, you'd see this really sharp drop off in buyer interest, and you're just not seeing that right now. You're seeing a bunch of people come out being enticed by the lower interest rates, right, from 8% down to 7.25% is significant because, again, remember that every 1% that the mortgage interest rate drops, that increases the buying power by roughly 13%. So if it drops 75 basis points, you're looking at an increase in buying power of about 10%. So let's put this in real terms. So if you're looking at a house that was, say, $800,000, you can now look at a house that is $880,000, which makes perfect sense because, again, I'm using this house in Acton as an example. An $850,000 home a couple months ago you'd have interest in it, but nowhere near the interest that you would see today, right? Because of the interest rate. So everything is tied together. It's so obvious to me, but a lot of people are kind of still not getting wow, I was really surprised to see so many people. I'm like, really? How could you possibly be surprised? I mean, this is like a math equation. It's not very difficult to understand. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What are you seeing out there in your market? Are you seeing open houses just full of people, or are you still seeing kind of a slowdown in your market? I'd really be interested to see what's going on in your market. So let me know down in the comments below. Again, if you did enjoy content like this, make sure that you smash the like button. Maybe hit subscribe if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the real estate industry and specifically here in the Boston market. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Take care.